Kiss album. Music from the Elder.
World without heroes.
The legend of the Elder. Conceived, written, and performed by Kiss on Casablanca Records. The new Kiss album. Music from the Elder.
It's a very, very small group of people, many of them clueless.
Hi, everybody. It's Gene Simmons, and you're not. This is Kiss My Collectibles podcast, but you know that.
Yeah, about a boy. About a boy, a very special boy.
Very special boy. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Kiss My Collectibles. I am one of your co-hosts, Jason Herndon, and with me, as always, is Joe Lollich. I thought I wouldn't laugh at that, but I did.
Oh, boy.
How are you, Joe?
I'm just fine. Even the band doesn't know what this record's about.
That's right. Well,
the guys in the actual band.
Can't wait to hear your opinion. Also joining us, our other co-host, Nicholas Buckland.
A very special boy. How are we? Oh, it's been a while, hasn't it? Oh.
Yeah, well, for you, for sure.
Yeah, it has, yeah.
Yeah. Boy, I hope we don't get popped for some of that music in the beginning of that, because I've had like 4 or 5 episodes get demonetized because of clips and audio in them in the past couple of weeks.
How long do they have to run for? Because if I know how long they have to
it was like 5 seconds. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, it'll pop it. If it's being looked for, it'll pop it. So
okay.
Anyway,
because for this episode, I'm just going to run the whole Elder album.
That's great. Yeah. that should be okay.
Nobody's looking for that.
Okay, our special guest for the evening is someone who worships music from the Elder, and is a good friend of ours from down in Australia. Dave Scott.
How come I get to be Morpheus?
Who do you want to be?
I don't even know what that means.
I actually don't know if there are any other characters that you just the boy and Morpheus.
That's right.
Mr. Blackwell? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. I guess so.
I have this
The
idea.
Island.
Let's make a record about a boy and Morpheus and something, song, and we're done.
And that's my treatment. There's a guy called Morpheus.
Exactly.
It should have been Dave Scott as Morpheus, Jason Herndon as Mr. Blackwell, Nicholas Buckland as boy, and Joe as the Island.
Oh,
he wants to separate himself from, escape from this whole podcast.
Begging to kick myself off my own island.
That's right.
Yes, exactly.
As you may have guessed, we're going to do skip or play music from the Elder.
Mm.
This should be fun. Please don't hate us for Joe and Nicholas's opinion.
I might like it.
That's right. Yeah, I doubt. So we're going to do skip or play. We haven't done one of these in a long time. I mean, it's been a long time, probably a year.
Yeah,
I would say since we've done one. And Dave always told us that he wanted to participate whenever we got to the Elder. So we have obliged, and there he is. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
There I am.
All right. Are we doing a what's in the box?
Yeah, I guess so. Have you guys got something?
I got something I can show.
Yeah, I got a couple.
I got stuff. I haven't been on this thing for like a year, and I've had a very little budget, but I've been buying stuff for the full budget.
Joe, you got something you showed us before we started recording, so calm down.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead. Run the box.
All right, I'm running the box.
I'm gonna open it.
Oh, what's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
There we go. What's in the box? Who wants to go first?
Joe.
Joking.
What Bolivian beauty do you have?
No, nothing that rare or exotic this time. But if you guys watched the last episode, we talked about Kiss vinyl from Germany. So I went out and grabbed this guy, the Paul Stanley Belafonte. There you go with the original logo. What really kind of moved me to get this is when we had done that episode. It's really hard to. I wouldn't say it's really hard, but it's getting tougher to find these with the poster. So obviously, there it is, and it's got its own
perfect,
marking there, which is kind of interesting and different, I guess. If you're
always
that
cool.
Sort of thing. Yeah, and then any of these posters with something that's a little bit different, and then this part of it too is kind of interesting, right? So the front side, or whatever side you're calling this, of the inner sleeve, and then
I love
the
that.
reverse.
That's so cool.
That's
cool, right?
Yeah,
So,
Kiss Super Puzzles. I love that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, and shows how they all go together. Yeah, really, really interesting. So it's always fun when there's little different bits and pieces, in these records like that.
You have to be pretty bad if you needed that guide to how to put them together. It's like only too much. Can I work this? This is how it goes together. All right.
Right. I gotta wait a minute. I have to. I have to go back to the diagram and.
That's right.
But you know that's why, like, McDonald's have their coffee mugs say contents may be hot. Like, it's a warning.
Exactly.
That's because one time somebody burned themselves.
Oh,
so
sure.
Maybe one time somebody got stuck with that puzzle, and they wrote in and said, "I can't figure this out," and they went, "Oh, that's okay."
They sued for millions for for the confusion.
Yeah.
Circle in the square. How come I want? Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'll go. And speaking of the last episode, I think John Humphrey showed this in his "What's in the Box." I got a 2014 Love Gun. No, I'm kidding. This is from Italy. They reprinted the jackets, but it does say 2014. But this is. Hold on, let's pull this stuff out here. This has something to do. I'm completely unfamiliar with this series of stuff because I believe that they've released several records, but it's this. Anybody know? Is it D'Agostini or something?
D'Agostini.
Yeah. So this comes with this book, and it's it's a pretty cool little book.
Right.
It's got a lot of things in it. Of course, you can't read it; it's all in Italian. But it's a pretty neat little book. I don't know; it's about 10 pages or so. But it came with the gun, and it's all on one piece. And these aren't paper; they're cardboard. But it is die cut. And it does pop out. And it's got the inner sleeve. It's more hard cardboard than anything.
Is that a 22 release or a 21 release?
Well, it would be. That's a good question because I don't think it. I think it actually says 2014 on the jacket. It does. I think these became available at the end of 2014.
The series or that actual copy?
This actual record.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I thought they were more recent than that when John was talking about it the other day. I must have had it wrong.
I mean, it may be 2022, but the labels and everything say 2014. I was trying to remember when I first heard it advertised. I can't remember if it was in December or if it was in January. It was probably, I just don't remember. Someone correct me, but it doesn't appear to say. It says 2014 on the label. So it's either late 2021 or January or something like that. So, but anyway, I just got that. That just came in.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, they ran because I was going to very quickly wrong band, but that the D'Agostini do the whole. They do all the Queen ones as well, and that was
that's right. When did that one come out, Nicholas?
It's weird because the record is from Europe, meaning they're Italian, obviously D'Agostini, but these all came out in Japan as well. So the booklet's all in Japanese, including
Interesting.
bit there. Yet the record's all in Europe. It says 2011 Queen Productions, and then underneath it there's another little thing saying 2018. So it must mean
20.
Does it
this
mean
is 2021.
Does it mean it's an old record but a new sleeve? Would that be why that would have 2 dates? I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I just looked at the actual booklet and it does say 2021, Joe.
2021. Okay.
2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what does the record itself say?
It says 2014. It's reprinted the 2014 stuff.
So they've really just stuck a new booklet basically with an old record. Is that what you think?
Well, no, I don't think it's. I think it's a new press because the matrix is completely different.
Oh, okay.
It's just
sorry, old cover is what you mean. Yes.
Yeah, I think what probably happened was they were sent the files for the jacket and the labels, and they printed that out over there, and they didn't change anything on them. I think that's what's going on here because it's exactly the same as a 2014.
It's listed as a December 29th, 2021 release on Discogs.
There you go.
Do with that what you will.
Yes, sir. All right, who's up? Nicholas? What Queen stuff did you get?
No. Queen said. I've already done that. No, just two cool ads. Obviously, everyone knows that I'm not showing anything else other than ads because at the moment my Rain Man like focus is just on one area. So this really cool one from Italy.
Hey,
see that one? Yeah. So this is a hard to find one there. Yeah, I like the little rainbow logo. Even something like Magnificent for the Magnificent Four or Great Four or something like that. That's a really cool one. And then the other one I got, which is hard to find, I think this one's from Spain, is this one, Unmasked. So, it's Spain.
That's really cool.
And that's called El Comic Vivo. Ask what that actually means. But yeah, those two. Nothing super exciting, but I like both of those are super hard to find. So yeah.
That's excellent. Dave?
So I have, obviously being back in Melbourne, I've had the opportunity to pick up some Aussie stuff. And I managed to get, not that this is very special, but a really clean love gun. And the thing that might be interesting to North American viewers is the back cover.
Love it.
Oh,
Very
wow.
cool. Yeah.
Which is kind of neat. The labels, interestingly, the labels don't have the band on them.
Right.
So they're not love gun labels.
Where did you say that was from? It's from America,
Australia.
though.
That's Australia.
No, this is Australia.
Okay, right.
So that's because it's got the Astor logo on the bottom.
Right.
And then I was at a yard sale, and I was really surprised to be able to pick up all 4 of the solos, which you can't see.
There you go. Put it in the middle of the screen there.
There we go. Middle of the screen is there.
Yeah, we don't need to see your face. We just need to see the record.
Nobody ever needs to see that. Take my word for it. There's all 4. The neat thing about this is they had not only are the sleeves mint, but the posters haven't been opened. The posters were crinkly. So you got the Astor logo there, and there's
the other side of that inner too.
Yeah,
Dave,
yeah.
That's cool.
The most interesting thing.
There,
the other side. There you go. So cool.
Yeah, that's
there
cool.
we go. And you don't need to see the posters because you've seen the posters before, but they also have the Astor logo on the bottom of them.
I think my Australian
I
best
love
of the
that.
solo albums has that same 4 black and white pictures as well with the those things. Pretty sure that has that in it.
Those are great. And you got those at a yard sale?
I saw them advertised on Facebook Marketplace, so I reached out to the guy, and he said there's no holds on anything. But what he did do was he gave me a hint to where they would be in the yard. And so I turned up there, and there was a load of people. I traveled 2 hours to get to this thing. And I just made a beeline for where I thought they were going to be, grabbed them, dashed over to him, gave him the money, and skedaddled before anyone killed me.
Did you get a good deal on them? good to have you back, Nicholas.
That's the face I did.
Yeah.
I got a deal. There would have been around 50 American, I guess, each.
For all four? Oh, each. Okay.
Each. The thing is,
Still
they've not been. Yeah, they've not been played. They're mint. Like when I opened the posters, they did that. They did that creak, which was kind of cool.
That is excellent, man.
Other thing which is kind of interesting that I've grabbed is the reprint of Double Platinum with the Dynasty pictures. Now, I was thinking that this had to be the UK version, but I don't know if you can read it, but that says made in Australia.
Right.
So I think what they've done is gotten the UK reprint and done an overprint.
But I don't know if you noticed, Dave, that there was those posters that came out, and there's the little hanging round thing for Double Platinum in Australia, and the poster one says now with the import cover, which means the silver cover. So I don't know whether they obviously had that weird white cover, and they had that cover going for a while, and then because this came out after. There's a poster with the unmasked cover on it as well, which means it must have come out in late 80, 81 wow. with the US cover, like the silver version. But then, so I wonder where that one's. We obviously know the white cover with the red logos came first, and which was limited. But I wonder, yes, that version, which is great. But I wonder where that other version sits in. Like, what year did that come out?
You guys didn't even realize what he just showed.
I did. I was shaking my head.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said it's that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my thinking is, and I go off the labels on that. So I picked up that as well. That was.
Wait a second, Mr. I don't have the budget for records. And you go out and buy probably the fourth most expensive record in the catalog.
So the way my budget works is I take my budget and I keep it to one side and I keep it to one side. And then a deal comes up and I approached the guy who was selling it and he wanted way more than I could ever afford. But because we'd had that conversation in Messenger, it stayed in there. And when he changed his price, he dropped it by a couple $100. But it came up in my notifications that he dropped the price. So I just reached out to him and said, I could do, and I literally went to him with, it was less than 50% of what he wanted. I said I could do that cash today. And I had to meet him it was a very Miami Vice type meeting. I don't know the guy's name. We met in a KFC car park. I handed him an envelope of cash and he handed me the record.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
That sounds like an Ace Frehley exchange, Joe.
So I now have this. I believe this came out before this. And part of why is the label on the back. But it's not I don't think this one came out in the 80s the way that people think it did. I think that was a late 70s thing.
Yeah, at the time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's it.
That's all?
That is quite funny. He just goes, I got no budget, and then pulls that out.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say,
I just picked up this cassette copy of The Very Best of Kiss from Japan.
Yeah.
It's probably been 12 months since we did this, and I thought, I just won't say anything to you guys. I'll just pick these things up and put them to one side, and then eventually be able to do this thing.
So that was a local guy. That was a local deal, right?
That was a local dude, yeah.
Wow.
It was a lot cheaper than what you may be thinking I paid for it. I think the guy just needed cash, and he just needed it on the day.
Well,
he needed
listen.
KFC. Like, he needed some.
Okay.
He was hungry. Give me enough for a bucket.
Yeah.
Well, Joe already has that, so if you run across another deal like that, PM me.
I know somebody with 5 copies of it.
I think we all know somebody with 4 or 5 copies of it, don't we? Is it the same guy?
Unbelievable. I don't know. Guy in Melbourne. I saw them a couple of weeks ago and was like, holy fuck. And he's just waiting to trade them for things in his collection, things that he wants for his collection.
Does he run a very large KISS Facebook group?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then that's the same guy.
Yeah.
So,
I'm an official fan now, so I'm just like Joe.
Yeah.
So
with
none of
Joe.
this counts. It's just it has to be that record.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it.
Okay,
Understood.
Jason, what have you got?
Yeah, I already showed mine.
Oh, did you? What was it?
Love Gun.
Love
The
Gun.
Agostini.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
What's wrong with you?
Okay, since Jason's already gone, Joe, you go now.
Yeah, Joe, your turn.
I haven't shown mine yet. No, just
Which podcast do you think you're in at the moment, Nicholas?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know where I'm.
Nicholas, talk about some new stuff.
Oh, well, I can't do that. Well,
Like a well-oiled machine.
It seems that the band is now promoting, areas, doing a few more things with eras that they perhaps didn't like to do. So these were announced this week, which were by Knucklebones. They've done the Alive series, they've done the Hotter Than Hell series, and Love Gun, I think, was the first one. But these are the Dynasty ones. So I'll show you. I'll show you. So Gene looks like this. They're quite detailed. These things. They're 1/6 scale, I think. There's that. Look, even the back of the cape. I think that's. I mean, for a figure, that's quite well done.
No, thank you.
Yeah. The Catman looks like. Scatter better.
I'm not doing that either.
There you go.
Now, hang on a second.
What?
Somehow it's worse. Somehow it's worse from the back.
Why, Joe? Why? What? Tell us your critique of these things.
Oh, they're just. You don't want to hear it. It's not for me. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
It's
All
just
right.
not for me.
Go ahead, Nicholas.
Look, here's a close up. Yeah, there we go. With hamburger and cheeseburger, whatever John 5 said he calls them.
Yep.
Ace Frehley's looking like that. That's pretty cool. I like the there's some nice detail on the boots there. Like I think for what they are, for busts of the band from Dynasty, I think they're done. I personally think they're done well. I wouldn't collect them myself personally, but I think for what they are, a bust of the band from the era, they're much better than those things like Biff Bang Pow, those little 3 and a 3.
Yeah, but look at the price
figures. Yeah,
look at the price difference
course.
between these and the Biff Bang Pow things.
Jason, are you buying those?
No, too expensive for me.
They're very expensive. How much are they each? I've forgotten. About 400 or something, or was it 400 for the set? Or was it 400 each?
If it's 400 for the set, I may consider it, but I thought it was like 400 each.
Yeah, maybe.
You would buy that at 400 for the set, huh?
$100 a piece, sure.
I think it's a little unfair on Peter how he's got to stand there like a runway model while the 3 other ones pose.
They're kind of moving,
Big action pose, and he's like, "What do I do?" But maybe that's his career in front of the camera.
It looks like the lion. It looks like the lion is vomiting up, kind of.
Tail.
It looks like
its own tail.
From the Knucklebones website, the Alive Star Child is $149, Jason.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah.
So it's the set then. So,
maybe I just grabbed 400 out of my head. Maybe it's about 500 for the set.
I thought I saw 600, but I didn't know it was Australian.
That would make sense.
Australian or American.
$600, 149 times 4 is $600.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Okay, cool.
So Joe, would there be any kind of? I know you would never collect any of this stuff, period. But I mean, what would
it's worth asking this question then?
What would have to, what would it have to be? What would it have to look like for you to say, "Oh, that's pretty cool"? If I was collecting that, that kind of stuff, I might buy that.
I just probably would never, to be honest. It's just not anything that I would ever collect.
But do you think those look terrible?
Yeah, I don't think they look great. Yeah, they're just they look more of that Bradford Exchange.
Right.
They look like big Christmas ornaments to me, and yeah, no, thank you. Better, they have better detail. They're the sculpts are fine and whatever, but man, they're just not for me. I would never do it in a million years.
No, sir, I don't like it.
Good to have him back, as I said before.
That's exactly right.
Now, let me ask you this. If that had come out in 1977 and had a coin stamp on it and it was from your childhood.
Well, I mean, if it was from my childhood, I mean, that's a whole different ball of wax, isn't it? When you roll nostalgia into it and all that kind of stuff. You know, and
Sure.
there's just more essential value from anything that's vintage and all that stuff. So I mean, yeah. But honestly, I mean, I don't hunt down a lot of that stuff anyway. So
No, I know you don't. I know you don't.
I will say I did buy the what were the Figures Toy Company,
Mm-hmm.
the redo of the or the reimagining, I guess, of those 78 dolls. I bought those. I thought those were cool because they had a lot of sentimental value. Plus,
Right.
I thought they were really well done. You know, I thought that was cool. You know, and I think I bought one set of the very earliest. What were the big figures in the clamshell packaging? And they had the first album makeup designs and costume designs and all that stuff. What were those?
You mean also by Figures Toy Company?
Were those also by Figures Toy Company?
Yeah, they did a whole bunch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they did a bandit version of Paul as well.
Yeah. So I think I have that. So I have maybe 6 of those. So I thought those were pretty cool. But then as soon as they came out with, you know, all of it, I got off that. It got too expensive and just wasn't anything that I was ever gonna display anyway. So
they also went quite cheaper with them because initially when they were producing those, they did I think the 8-inch versions and the 12-inch versions of those. But in the end, they started using the same heads. So the Monster and I think Sonic Boom, the little 8-inch ones have got huge heads. I mean, or actual size for Tommy Tad, but you know.
Oh my God!
But you know, they look wrong. They look really weird. If you see some of the 8-inch Monster or Sonic Boom, you can see they're trying to save money because there's going to be less people who are going to buy 8 and 12-inch of Sonic Boom or you know that kind of era. But
the 12-inch. The 12-inch version of the Dynasties I thought were really good for the Figures Toys Company. Ones.
I did too.
Those are the only 12-inch ones I bought.
Yeah, I bought the 12-inch versions of the ones that I was talking about. Those early, the early costume versions.
Right.
I thought they were really cool. I think there was like a Gene. Was there a Gene Blood variant?
Yes.
Maybe for one of them. I think. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Shall we move on to trashing the elder?
Or praising
I might like it.
I doubt it.
Bullshit!
Exactly. All right, so Skipper, play the elder. Let's do the
Where's your lute music?
Oh, I don't have any. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Jason had the lute music before.
Oh, the lute music?
So I guess we could start the show by just generally saying that. What track is this? Yeah. Which Gene track is that one?
Every time Joe speaks, that should play on the.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right.
Is that the one that Ace didn't play the lute on? Is that he didn't play on the lute on that one?
Yeah, Bob didn't like his lute playing, and he had to get somebody else.
Right. So I think it's fair to say that we know sort of going into this thing that I'm not going to be a fan. I don't like this record. I think Nicholas is in the same camp, generally speaking. And I think, Jason, you like it well enough, I think. And Dave, it's one of your favorite records out of the catalog, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to... I've lost my wing.
I think that's it. I think that's the show over.
That's it. Good night, everybody.
We don't need to do skip. We kind of did skip or play just then.
Right. So let's. I thought.
Postman.
I thought maybe an interesting way to start the show is if you say it's one of your favorites out of the Kiss catalog, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's just run this game for a second.
God!
I'll let Jason and Dave play. Ready?
All right.
Is it better than the debut?
Hang on, you can't do this because you got to do context. No. Wait, I do have something here because, yes, I love this record. Now, when you fall, I'm making a case here. When you fall in love with something, it has very little to do with common sense. Yes or no? Are we talking anything? We're talking about people.
You didn't answer my question, so I'm certainly not going to answer your question. I'm going to come down that this is about your 24th most favorite Kiss record. If we went down this list, it's about 24th, and you're going to put it behind some really heinous shit as a collection of songs.
My contention is that when you fall in love with something, it's not about common sense. So half of this thing could be unplayable, and I would still love it because it has to do with the time, and it has to do with what this makes me remember and what this makes me feel, because we know that music does that. Music works on us at a psychological level. So there's no taking away from how I feel about this, no matter how much I might dislike fanfare.
But however, if you were going to critically look at this record, taking all of that out of it, and somebody said, if somebody said critically, they hired you to write an essay on this record, it wouldn't go
I would start with the same caveat because critically,
but it would not go well for the band, and it would not go well for the record if you were going to be as objectively honest as you could about it.
If I was being objective, I'd tap out of the music at somewhere in 1979 because I think they'd peaked by then as musicians, and the way that they wrote and their approach to the music was very, very different. After that point, they became a different band that occasionally did good things.
And here's where I will throw in with you on this whole sort of idea of nostalgia and sentimentality. I feel that way, much the same way about Dynasty, because when I was a little kid, I had that record and played the hell out of that record. I did a lot of them, but Dynasty, for some reason, is the one that imprinted on me in a very big way. That's not one of their more celebrated records, right? And so I get it from a nostalgia and sentimentality, but point of view, that has an effect on my opinion on the record. But I can also objectively go, man, there are some really bad potholes on that record and some real gutter balls. And
you can't objectively do that. That's still subjectively.
No, what I'm saying,
music is subjective.
Of course, it's always subjective. But what I'm saying is, if you were trying to objectively look at it and remove a lot of that stuff out of it, and looking at it as a music critic or a film critic would, of course, there's always subjectivity in entertainment or any of those kinds of things. There's going to be a dash of all of that stuff. Like if you're sending a film critic who hates science fiction movies to, Mad Max Fury Road, they may come away from it with a different look at, from somebody who enjoys those types of movies. But
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just, all I'm saying is if you were going to take a critical look at this and you had never heard the music, you didn't have any of the nostalgia or the sentimentality behind it, I think it would go very badly for the band and the music.
Okay, so if I look at this objectively, I will argue that there are 4 really good concept album tracks on this. That if this were Rush, they would have taken those 4 songs, made them into one 25-minute song that would have had
rewritten them, made them
had a whole different change in tempo and ups and downs and blah, blah, blah. That would have been one side of a record, and then the other side they could have made a.
You sound like the people from Melbourne who go, "Yeah, Sydney wouldn't be that good if it didn't have the beaches." And you kind of go, "But we do have the beaches." It's kind of like, it is what it is. You got to judge it on what it is.
Yeah. But if we're doing it objectively, I think there are good concept album tracks on this. Now, if you don't like concept albums, then you're going to have an issue with it. If you've come to this wanting Rock and Roll Over Part 2, then it's going to suck. If you're okay with rock opera, if you're okay with strings in rock music, if you're okay with Pink Floyd and Rush, then there are decent tracks on this album. There are enjoyable songs.
That's the problem. I don't think Joe believes that. You know, he doesn't think that there's probably, we'll get there, but there's probably any good merit to any of those songs. And that's what I was, trying to question earlier is you can't, look, I would put The Elder on. You were going to do the thing where, is The Elder better than the first album? Is it better than Hotter Than Hell? And it was going to make us look foolish if I said, The Elder is better than Rock and Roll Over or something like that. But I will tell you that if I go to my car and drive somewhere, I am more likely to put The Elder on than I am Rock and Roll Over. Does that mean I think it's a better record or not?
But
Here's
what I think drives that, though, Jason, and this is what drives in every fan community. You get the exact same thing. So I think it is that Kiss fans, like any other fan, it's our consumerism. We consume this music so much that we consume it so much that the temptation to put on Destroyer with all the songs we've heard a billion times before makes us then search out. Like, we want to go for not new things, but I think that's what sent us in these other directions, is to see, like, in every, you've heard the same argument with every group forum that, and I'm not saying you guys do this, but there's certain fans who think that if I say I like the band's most popular album, I'm not as big of a fan as if I say I like their difficult album. So out there's AC/DC fans go, no, what you want to listen to is Fly on the Wall. And, Pink Floyd fans going, The Wall, Dark Side of the Moon? No, the Final Cut. That's where the real genius lies. And every band, there's probably Queen fans out there going, no, Hot Space is where they really were, their greatest. Because I think they'd vomit if they had to listen to Bohemian Rhapsody another time. So they start going into the other stuff and trying to appreciate it. But then I think with some people, and I'm not saying you guys, I think they believe it gives them a higher status of, oh yeah, you guys go and listen to your Love Guns and your Rock and Roll Overs. But true fans can really appreciate the genius that no one else sees as genius except for super fan me, that I can then go in and take this difficult album and love this difficult album because I'm a better fan than you. I'll go this to your Destroyers. I'm not saying you guys do this. I'm just saying I think for some fans, they get into that trap,
I don't disagree with that at all. I would like to think that is not my reasoning. How
often do you put Destroyer on?
I play Destroyer quite a bit.
Regular? Okay.
Especially lately. With all of the new stuff that's been coming out. I listen to Destroyer Resurrected quite a bit. I love, and it's funny because I love Sweet Pain and those songs, Flaming Youth, that the lesser played songs off that record. I gravitate towards listening to them, so I can see where there's some merit to what.
And those things, rock and roll speaking, are genius compared to anything off of The Elder, in my humble opinion.
But see,
go ahead.
Okay,
Jason.
No, you go.
Well, there are mitigating factors, aren't there? And again, if wishes were ponies, we'd all have ranches, right? But this could have been a very different record. You have certain records where all the good things came together at the same time, and they made magic. In this,
and then you had The Elder.
And then all the bad things all the bad things came together at the same time and produced an album with a brown cover. Ezrin was incredibly lazy, incredibly coked up. The band came in unhappy about where they currently were with their demos. They have a record label putting pressure on them because there's money involved here. They get half an idea based on Joe's treatment that he wrote just before about Morpheus, a guy and an island, and they went about this in a half-assed way, and there's only going to be one thing that comes out of that. Pink Floyd, I read they had a 50-page treatment, and they sat down and they read that. They did a table read before they went into the studio, and they all got aligned.
Yeah. Well, but what's the old thing where you say if you don't believe in it, then how is the audience going to do it? And I think that the two things are very different. So obviously, The Wall versus The Door because that's how unoriginal it was. We'll just have a blank door and we'll have a blank wall. So they obviously replicating the same thing. But the difference is with the wall, whether you like it or not, that it was based on Roger Waters' childhood. He lost his father in the war. He grew up in English public schools, so that whole, we don't need to education. Everything in that film, his controlling mother, him wanting to build a wall between him and fans and put, and an emotional wall that we all have, that they had coming out of Britain after the war, the close down and repression that they had. All those themes rang true with people. It rang true with Roger, who wrote it. It rang true with people, but when you come up with just a random, it's Morpheus and it's it's like a group of elder. There's no, if the band aren't invested in it, and we know Ace wasn't invested at all, and they barely sketch something else, how is the audience going to be invested in the theme the same way as I'm not saying that you can't have a fantasy thing, but I mean, you can't compare it to the wall because the wall is very real world and it's very English and most English people would understand what that, the famous Pink Floyd joke where they all were fighting, they said it got so bad in the studio somebody almost said something, which I always love that one because it's so English. It's like, we all hated each other, but we couldn't tell each other that because we're all. But
what you can do is you can compare the process. Yes. Like I said, Waters and Pink Floyd had a treatment written. Kiss did not. Kiss were desperate to make a record that was different from the pop of Unmasked. I spoke to Julian about this because I said, my contention is that the band were lazy. He said they weren't lazy. It's just they were spinning their wheels here. They brought Bob in because he was supposed to help them get to somewhere that they weren't getting with those demos. If they brought in Kramer, maybe he would have given them a much better rock album, been able to do something with those demos. Ezrin wrote no songs on the wall.
Yeah,
he's got one. He's got one co-writing.
And isn't that the key, right? Like the band came in prepared. They had the idea. They had the treatment. It was very fully fleshed out. And whether it's going to work or not, we're going to see this thing through. We're going to write songs around this skeleton that we've all agreed upon. And Kiss comes in and they have the delusions of grandeur and self-importance that they could actually pull this off on any level at all. When really Bob Ezrin was the guy who brought in these sorts of trappings into the band in the first place. They probably would have never existed. Strings, orchestration, big sort of concept bits and pieces in the songs.
We weren't there. We don't know, but I get the feeling that Kiss, for all the bombast, were never overly confident about what they did, or either that or Orcoin wasn't, or somebody was like, why would you do Destroyer, high finish, big production album, and then go straight into the studio to do Rock and Roll Over? Like, if you believed in your project, why not tour Destroyer for a couple of years and then do Rock and Roll? They were in the studio again. Hey, what if people don't like us? What if people don't like this?
Right.
Because Destroyer wasn't a big of a hit until Beth happened, and Beth happened so late, they would have already been pre-planning for...
It wasn't even late, was it? Like, we're talking, there's a year. It's 75 to 76.
It's not even that long. A year.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't even remotely.
You said about between recording, not between the release of the two albums.
And see, the band's true north is to be a fist-pumping, guttural, hard rock bordering on heavy metal band.
Yeah.
And even they reacted against Destroyer and went right back into the studio and tried to write something that was raw and unabashedly, sort of that whole, back to Kiss being Kiss. We're going to go write some kick-ass rock songs. We're not going to, inject all these trappings. And then a couple of records down the road, they see themselves just mired in this whole thing that just is never going to be able to be pulled off. Even if the band were operating on all cylinders around the Destroyer Rock and Roll Over time period, they could have never pulled this off.
But then isn't Ezrin a weird choice when you consider they've just finished the Unmasked tour, where we know that they spent all their money. They didn't have dollars. They were blowing it all on parties, on planes, and on all the rest of the shit. But they'd come through Europe. They'd had Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, and they'd basically seen the British wave it was called the new wave of British heavy metal. And Saxon, Motorhead, Priest, Def Leppard, all those bands were actually charting. Like, for a kid into heavy metal at the time, it was unbelievable. All these bands that my parents hated were all in the charts. Kiss do a pop album, and poppier album, like a more glitzy record. They see these bands in leather and studs, all the way that Kiss used to look. They see that, and then they do The Elder. When, surely they've just traveled the world. They've got more than a North American's perspective. I can't believe that it wouldn't have been better for them had they gone and relocated in London for 6 months.
Was it the label? Was it the label? Like, being in Constantine, you had, Donna Summer here on this, you've got Parliament in crazy costumes, Vegas-y costumes, previously. Around the same time when The Elder hit, you had the Village People who reinvented themselves in that, was it Renaissance it was called? And they all had those medieval costumes. So they must have been in some kind of cocoon where the people around them and the artists and dating Donna Summer and Cher, that they were almost, they've seen all these heavy bands playing with them, but for whatever reason, they believe they were more we're now in this, we want to be here, we're Pink Floyd, and we don't want to be.
Well, my understanding is, though, that they'd cut demos, and Jason will know better than I, but there's a track called Feels Like Heaven, which appeared on Peter Criss's Let Me Rock You.
Well, yeah, kind of, but
But that track was around, that was demoed at the time.
There were definitely heavier tracks.
Yeah, and so Breakout, the Freely's Comet track, Nowhere to Run, Deadly Weapons, Down on Your Knees, all of those were demoed before they started to make The Elder. So to me, the problem here is the producer.
That's exactly what happened. So, there not even just those songs, but there's another 5 or 6 songs that were cut at Ace in the Hole Studios that are instrumental tracks. They don't have any lyrics on them, and they're straight ahead rock tracks for the most part. The beginnings of what became A World Without Heroes is in there too, but it's more ballady than it is what it became. But there's definitely some straight ahead, and they have some in the bootleg trading world. They have some bogus titles to them, but they weren't the real titles. But there was some real straight ahead rocking stuff that was really, really good. And then Ezrin comes in and basically says, no, you guys should do this. And of course, he just had the success of The Wall. And I'm sure they're going, if he can do that, look what he did with Pink Floyd. And he was very easily able to push Paul and Gene in that direction. It absolutely was the producer. They weren't going remotely that direction. They weren't even thinking about it. It would have never popped in their head. I think that's what you said. It would have never occurred to them to go in that direction. And
I mean, in retrospect, we know what The Elder became, but I guess if you've got the guy who gave you Destroyer with the hit Beth, and then he's just come off The Wall, and he's kind of going, one of the biggest selling albums of all time. I think even at the time it would be hard to say no, because you would think, we've now seen the results, which were what they are, but before those results, Ezrin is gold, isn't he? Technically,
exactly
at that point. Pre The Elder, he's gold.
Exactly. So he comes in, and they have almost none of that material prepared. And Ezrin says that ended up on The Elder, and he says, "Let's switch gears. Let's start writing some stuff." And he's involved in all of that, every step of those songs. He's a co-writer on almost every one of those songs, and he's guiding them in that direction. So what are you going to do?
It's interesting. It almost seems like they laid some traps for themselves early on, right? With Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, however well intentioned that was, the band was involved in that, right? Sure, so they set that trap for themselves. Then they go on and they become quote unquote Super Kiss, right? With all the color schemes and the ridiculous over the top Las Vegas-y kind of style costumes. And you would think in any sane world, somebody would have come in and gone, look what you guys were just 6 years ago, 5.5 years ago. Look at where you are now. Can we get back to that? That's what you guys were, and you've come so. But what they choose to do is go even further and into a realm where they're not even talented enough to pull that stuff off. They're not focused enough at that point. It's just, and they didn't even learn from their own mistakes and the traps that they had set for themselves.
But they had Parliament in the crazy costumes. You had village people in the crazy costumes. That was where their heads were at. Like I even watched an old thing of Chicago from '78, and they were wearing colorful sequins and stuff. Like it was almost like, but where were they trying to go to? They were trying to have a. But that had already happened. All that stuff. That stuff had already. It was a little bit earlier, yeah. But it's weird that they chose that direction, isn't it?
So they're at that fork in the road, and they're like, "Do we become this concept band that we don't have the aptitude for, or do we veer back into and?"
But that's not how it happened. That's not how it happened. What happened was,
I understand you that they were writing demos and all that stuff all along the way.
They were going rock.
That was the fork in the road that presented itself. They had the fork to the left, which was back to basics rock and roll,
right?
That they had created already, or the road. The other fork in the direction in the road to the right, where Gene has some treatment or whatever, maybe that Bob Ezrin then latches onto and lurches the whole thing. Lurches the whole thing into that direction. That's my point. Timeline, irrespective of the timeline. So it's even like their hearts were right in the right place, even with the demoing, but they still don't know to stop themselves and create this mess.
So I think the weird thing there is when Ezrin goes, "Hey, let's not do this rock album because you guys aren't happy with your demos." They were friends with Rush, so they are buddies with Neil Peart. They're friends with a band that have come up that have done high concept albums, and they bring in co-writers for this record. I wonder why they didn't reach out to Rush and Peart to write something not quite as cliche as what they ended up with. I'm curious as to why they would go, "Hey, we're going to do a concept record," and even though we're buddies with some guys that do concept records, why we don't pull them in as co-writers?
Because they're not that type of band. At its heart, they're not that kind of band. They're not Rush. They're never going to be Rush, whether you like the music of Rush or not. They're never going to be that prog-based, conceptual type.
Well, that's the record they're making. That's what I'm saying is,
if that's how out of their element they are. They didn't even know to go and get people who knew to do that.
I reckon. Actually, thinking about it more, I reckon they chose the wrong person. I reckon they thought, "Here's the Wall, huge seller, and let's get the genius behind it," which was Bob Ezrin. But what they probably didn't realize by that point, Roger Waters was so megalomaniac that Bob Ezrin, apart from the sonics of it, wasn't really the creative genius behind it. Everything was Roger Waters, from writing it to concept to all the ideas. And they've gone, "Oh, it's Bob Ezrin." We go, "Fuck, we've ended up with this coked out crazy person who actually technically probably wasn't the genius behind the Wall in the first place." You know what I mean? But it probably seemed like it. We've got the Wall's producer, huge seller. But I think that, and even Bob Ezrin has said, by that point, I was just, in another world. So I think, it was thankfully Roger Waters sort of somehow kept him on task. Sonically it's beautiful, the Wall, but yes, I don't think he was the genius behind the Wall.
The Elder is a lot of bad things coming together at the same time. It's an ill-thought, ill-considered idea that had to be rushed out. What if this had been a double album? What if they'd been able to rework some of those demos, and like The Wall, 4 of them had been really great songs that a radio station could pick up. That would, but everything, it's all if. The best advice to them at the time after Unmasked would have been, go live in Berlin or London. We'll get you Mutt Lange as a producer. spend 6 months in Europe and getting this new wave of heavy metal thing behind you. You started out in studs and leather. There's a ready-made audience for you. Somewhere their fragile egos got coerced by Ezrin's bad idea, and this is what we get.
That's right.
But or was there no way back from that point because of Dynasty, the direction that the fork in the road where they chose, as Joe said, Kiss Meets the Founder Park, Dynasty Unmasked? Because you go, just say they skipped the Elder and went straight to Creatures of the Night, which is it still was a huge, massive flop, including the 2 was a flop. Creatures of the Night was a big flop, and no one was playing it. And I think we look at the Elder as the mistake point, but really, as Joe said, the mistakes were made way earlier, which made all those same fans who like those bands, the chances of them, because why didn't they all come back for Creatures of the Night and make it a sellout tour, worldwide tour? Because they'd lost that audience. They said, "Oh, Kiss doesn't matter what they put out at the point. Creatures of the Night sounds awesome. It's dark, it's heavy, it's great." But their audience had left.
I think there's a whole different.
It's not even the Elder's fault, really.
There's a whole podcast in what if after Kiss Alive 2 they did this. I think there's a whole other thing where you could go, what if they'd done this? What if they'd fired Peter then and they didn't, and they used these tracks and this was that, and then instead of, and a whole different career. But
I mean, look, but this was going to happen in whatever form it took to Kiss, because it happens to every band. So it was the Dynasty Unmasked Elder period, arguably. That was that we don't know who we are. We're not getting along. We've made a bunch of money. Some of us are on drugs. So you know what I mean. It's the tried and true story of rock and roll that every single band goes through. Every band goes through dark periods, and this was Kiss's extremely dark period, in my opinion, anyway.
And so
there's no argument.
Whilst they're going through their dark period, I'm a young teenager, just about to buy a new record that has not been everything that came before this I'd been able to purchase at any point because it had already come out. So by the time I discovered the band, even though I vaguely remember seeing Unmasked in the stores, it felt like it was already there. I didn't have to wait for anything. So yeah, the band are going through this really dark period, but I've already nailed my colors to this band. Like I am in. I'm whole. I've got them embroidered on the back of my denim jacket. I'm like, nothing's going to change that. So this one was the first album that I had any real anticipation about coming out. So I was so desperate to like it.
How
you're the guy who's heard about the party, has imagined the party, has spent all these years getting ready for the party, getting the denim, and you show up at the party and it's a guy sweeping the vomit and beer cans and vodka bottles off of the floor, and you're like, but I don't care because it's still my party.
I'm still here. I got an invite. I'm at the party. And there's a lute player.
I was even younger, and it was the first record that I got around release because I was very young, and then obviously so
you were just a boy.
That's right. I was just a boy, and there was a dark light at the end, So I just I just remember getting it and listening to it for the first time, and I was so young and so impressionable that it has always stuck with me. That dark period that you're talking about, Joe, was the period that I got into Kiss.
But that doesn't make it all right. You know what I mean? That's like saying, "Oh, I'm a pick your sports analogy, your sports team, right? Like, oh, that's my team." But yeah, they won 3 games the entire season, and they were terrible. But I love that shortstop for that team, or I love that. They were terrible. You can love them, and that's when you got into the Yankees. But they were brutally terrible.
But for the purpose of our of these particular episodes we do on this podcast, I don't approach Skip or Play as a critic. I approach Skip or Play personally. Do I skip these songs? Do I play these songs because I want to listen to them? See, I think you approach it differently. You just say this song is terrible, and this even if you have some kind of affinity for it, you know, you're skip because this song is terrible and doesn't stand up to, you know, Bridge Over Troubled Water or whatever, you know. And I don't approach it like that. You know, to me, I remember listening to the Elder from beginning to end, and I fucking love the record and always have, because that's just me.
But at the end of the day, the podcast is entertainment, and there are people watching this that feel the way that Joe does about the record.
Sure.
And there's people that feel that you do, the way that you do about the record. And they're happy to listen to Joe be wrong and enjoy what you're saying.
That's what they're all here for.
Yeah, oh, fuck, I've got notes here that is like, Joe wrong, Joe wrong, Joe wrong, Joe wrong. And there's another one down the bottom that I can't read, but I kind of got the gist of it.
Yeah.
And
right, Joe says...
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself.
And I wasn't at all going to be wrong when I went down this list and said, is the Elder better than the debut? Hotter Than Hell, Dress to Kill, Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, Love Gun, Dynasty, Unmasked, Creatures of the Night, Lick It Up, Animalized Asylum, Crazy Nights, Hot in the Shade, Revenge, Carnival of Souls, Psycho Circus, Sonic Boom, or Monster. For my money, it's only worse. It's worse than almost all of those records. It probably is the worst out of the catalog, save maybe a couple of those.
As Jason said when you tried to get us in that trap,
yeah,
if we played the game that way, it would make us look silly. But we don't need your help.
I know. Right. I know you do a perfect job on your right on.
We can do this without you just by playing Skip or Play.
Oh God, can we do this without me? I would love that. That's the first sensible thing you've said all night.
I vote that.
Should we get started?
Sure.
Yes, please.
When are we going to record?
Yeah, I'm going to pick up the kids now. So yeah. Yes.
So let's start with the original intended running sequence.
Refresh myself. Sweet Jesus.
So we start with Fanfare.
Fanfare. Dear God.
Which of
we don't need to debate this, do we?
Which at the time, if there were any Kiss fans left, went, "Oh, go fuck yourselves."
Yeah.
Will you please?
If this is your favorite record, and you say, "Oh, I've never heard this one," and you go, "Well, okay, play it for me," and you started with track 1. I'm a huge rock, and you're gonna love the Elder. Listen to this, and it starts with do 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 do.
But then,
you know, like it's just.
But then the best part is you go, "Oh, wait a minute. This is going to lead into the most killer, riff heavy. The band is back." And then you get the beginnings of Just a Boy. Oh, man.
This is going to be brutal, Dave.
This is a
no. I'm sorry, Jason. I'm just going to lean over here, and because I'm with them on this. I fucking hate this track. Like, so bad. Like, I mean, the only thing it's got going for it is it's shorter than Beth. That's why I don't hate it as much as Beth. But fuck, I hate this track.
Do you?
This is Bob Ezrin. This is everything bad that Bob brought to this record.
Hey Joe, Dave's doing our job for us. We can just see.
Yeah. God, I won when we hit record. I was just like, this guy's gonna bury. At the end of this whole thing, Dave's gonna be like, I hate this record.
That's like me with Peter Chris's solo album. I was like, I love this. And I think the episode on the Joe. I was like, this sucks. This is bad Bob Seger. Like,
this isn't even a fight. This is like when they ring the bell and the one boxer just lays down and goes, I give up. I know I'm a terrible boxer. I can't do this. Oh God.
It's Just a Boy.
Weren't expecting that, were you, Joe?
All right,
No.
so let's be official.
It's the high voice, isn't it? Really?
Let's be official. Fanfare.
Okay,
Skip or play. Nicholas.
Hard skip.
Hard skip.
Skip.
That is awful.
Skip.
Yeah.
Skip.
Skip
An
and
awful
scratch.
start to the album.
I'll play along. I'll say skip.
You're gonna skip it.
It's
I
probably not
don't,
really
but
a
I'll
song,
say
is it? It's
skip.
probably just a bit of
I mean, if you don't skip it, then you don't skip it.
All right,
So
I don't
you're
skip
okay.
it. I don't skip any song on the fucking record. I don't ever.
Wow.
You know, I just wonder, Nicholas, if we had any sort of, I mean, do we have anything has the band ever said anything about how much? I mean, they surely love this record, right? I mean,
funnily enough, I actually spoke to Paul earlier, and he said
We
this.
were lost. We were delusional. We had become complacent and kind of ungrateful for the success that we had and what it was based on. So we were lazy. I think we had all become very comfortable in a rich, so to speak, lifestyle, and became more concerned with how our contemporaries viewed us rather than our fans.
God, was that Joe or was that Paul Stanley?
Looked a lot
So,
like Joe.
Jason, do you have a copy of Kiss and Sell there with the quote from Paul that said that
Not near me.
they'd gotten sick of writing fucking suck songs?
I don't have it. Yeah, I don't have it near me.
And then when they tried not to, they were like, "Holy shit, we got to get
Right
back to
back
the
to that
formula
shit.
that works." That's right.
All
Okay,
right.
so the Odyssey.
No,
Which is
No, but
just a boy.
It's just
Oh
a
God,
boy.
I thought we had skipped.
No.
I blacked out.
We skipped fanfare. Okay, what do we want to say about Just a Boy?
Just a boy.
I play Just a Boy because like I said, I think there's 4, maybe 5 tracks on here that make a one side of a concept record. And even though I don't particularly love this song, I think it builds, it starts a body of work. I dislike the falsetto, which clearly Bob thought Paul could do, because I mean he does it the whole way through the album. It pushes a guy with a good voice into a place where he's not comfortable. Like clearly, there are tracks on this album where he struggles. He's a good singer, and the falsetto on this was just awful. So I'm not going to try defending it so hard, but the question I would have is, if this track followed God of Thunder on Destroyer, would that be so bad? Like I kind of feel it would still work.
It would absolutely not work. You just said I hate the falsetto in the song, which is like a full minute of the song. And the thing is 2 minutes and 26 seconds. So you hate almost half of the song by the way the guy delivers the line. And you're hanging on to it by going, oh, I think if in the right hands at the right time with the right people, with other writers, with everybody else, there could have been maybe something here. That's your whole defense of this.
You're not making my job easy, Dave.
My defense is that I think this leads into other work that I enjoy. And again, this is about me enjoying it, not whether or not Joe thinks it's a better song than anything from Rock and Roll
Bridge
Over.
Over Troubled Water.
The Bridge Over Troubled Water, yeah.
It's an odd sequencing choice for an album. Like, because if you think, especially if you're trying to, to have actually been in that delusional space where you thought that you would go from fanfare with those panpipes on a Kiss record and then go straight into Just a Boy where he goes into that, the falsetto. It's a weird, like, I got what Dave was saying. If it followed God of Thunder, if you went heavy and then light and then heavy again, that at least it would just be one kind of lighter track in the flavors that were Kiss at the time. But to go fanfare into Just a Boy, it feels like, what are you doing? Like that, it seems wrong. Like it's I wouldn't sequence that song next.
To your point, it was resequenced in America. It didn't come out like this.
Oh, it didn't? Okay.
No.
I know there is the other version, but I wasn't sure how much later that was.
And there was dialogue recorded, wasn't there, as well? So what we get isn't necessarily what was originally intended. There was dialogue that's been recorded, and we don't know where that's meant to go in this.
This sequence is the original intended sequence. This sequence didn't exist anywhere except for Japan. Everybody's record started with the Oath.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure the Australian one had this.
Are you sure?
I'll tell you in a second.
I know in America, the Oath was the first song. And that was the original. I mean, we didn't. It's the Oath, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. This fanfare into Just a Boy. Look, it was like a last minute decision to say this track listing isn't going to work. We've got to change it, and they completely changed it. And the Oath is the opener of the record. Read that track listing off, Dave.
Okay, so I've got the Austrian one here, and this is what I remember as a kid. This has got Fanfare, Just a Boy, Odyssey, Only You, Under the Rose.
That's not how it came out in America. It came out The Oath, Fanfare, Just a Boy, Dark Light, Only You, Under the Rose, A World Without Heroes, Mr. Blackwell, Escape from the Island, Odyssey, and I. That is the changed track order. That's the way. We never saw this version of the record, the original intended sequence, until the CDs were remastered in whenever they were remastered, 97.
That process is called rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic.
Oh, I was just thinking exactly the same thing, Nicholas. I see the Titanic up on her end, and people like sliding down in the James Cameron movie, and the lute is being played in a different sequence.
And somebody's going,
much better.
Somebody's going, what if we change the order then? That'll work, right?
Okay.
So this is the play. This is a play for me, even though it's clearly a flawed track.
It's a play for me, and it's not has anything to do with Dave's reasoning. I love this song. So
yeah.
Unabashedly.
Me or Joe?
Same answer. Skip. Doesn't matter.
Okay. I'll say
just play the game.
No. If you're actually saying skip or do I play it, I play it because I want to laugh. It makes me laugh every time we sing this thing. So it actually is a play because I laugh. I genuinely get a laugh of I am just a boy. That thing. So it's a play every time. But in terms of is it a good song, it's a hard skip.
And you take the powers of Paul Stanley and you turn him into that. I mean, that is a production feat. I mean, seriously. It's like telling an actor, act poorly. Meryl Streep, act poorly. Like she doesn't know. That's what it would sound like if you told Meryl Streep, like, try to act like you don't know how to act.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right. You're right because Paul around that same time was able to deliver something like the year later, I Still Love You, which is a super powerful piece of vocal. So he was at his height vocally, and yeah, why would you?
Well, did any of you guys see the Bee Gees documentary? And they were
not yet. I heard it was fantastic. Though.
It's really good, but they're talking about and this was they'd be in the studio around 1977, 76, 77, and Barry just happened to try and hit a note, and they discovered he could do this falsetto thing.
Right.
And the producer at the time went, "That's fucking amazing. Can you do that? And then we'll harmonize that and that and that." And that became the signature sound. Like they didn't know. They tried it and they said, "This is fantastic." I can imagine a coked up Bob Ezrin similar moment of going, well, it worked for them. And we're all about following what other people are doing and then claiming that we're doing it first. So it's such a bad idea.
And if they're not copying Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, they're looking for Bee Gees and, all those kind of, let's Pink Floyd, mega selling bands,
All right, so it's a skip.
Joe, skip or play?
Absolutely hard skip. If I never heard it again, it would be too soon.
Zing.
Awful.
All right, Odyssey.
Brutal.
Oh my God.
and then you roll, and then you roll into such I mean, just an unbelievable clunker. It's unbelievable. Like if you guys thought that stuff was bad, we've got 5 minutes and 40 seconds of pure, unadulterated trauma coming your way.
This is the worst song in their entire canon. This is the most awful song I've ever heard in my life.
No chance that song is worse than I finally found my way to you or whatever.
I actually think it's worse. It is. And where's Paul's register? I'm of a horror galaxy. You know, like even once again, you've got him singing. You've got him taking him down the other way too low for his register.
You ever heard the original version?
We can hear the original version because I actually put that one on here. Odyssey. It's not Torben. There we are. We can have a little listen.
As across the starry sea, powered by what we seek, now and then the victory. Once upon that yet.
Just so we don't get flagged, I just ended that a little bit earlier, but yes.
I don't think anybody's looking for that one.
Nobody's looking for that.
I mean, apparently that's actually not the original. I mean, even though the guy wrote it, he recorded it after the Kiss one. But
right,
yeah. But it is so bad, and even those low verses, it gets the worst moment in any Kiss song in any of their career is. There's a child in a sundress.
Oh boy! Oh boy!
You know, it is. My God.
Oh.
This is. Can you go into minor stars for this song? This is the most awful song I've ever heard in my life.
It's in my top 10 favorite songs.
I didn't even get 1 second into like a skip. It's like
you're kidding, Dave.
No, I fucking love this song. Like, I mean, love it. I think it is fantastic. It's, to me, this is a really great piece of rock opera. I don't think Paul's voice is right in it. Again, I think he's stretching. He's going somewhere he shouldn't be. But I love it. And I like the lyrics as well. Why the fuck do songs have to make sense? Why do they have to be...
Because it's a concept record and you're trying to tell a story, Dave.
They didn't have a fucking story.
You told us this is a concept record about a kid and an island and a guy and a thing.
No.
And you've borrowed somebody else's music and ramrodded it into this thing. That makes no sense. The song is terrible. The ideation is terrible. The whole thing is flawed from the get-go. This rocket doesn't even get off the launch pad. Holy hell!
I'm glad it's you, Dave, taking the brunt of this and not me.
No, but that's only because Joe's wrong. Because we're not doing skip or play in Joe's mind. Joe's mind is, I'm going to keep trashing the Elder, whereas we've moved on and we're doing whether we skip or play this particular song. And personally, I fucking love this song. This is one of my favorite Kiss songs ever. I will play this track on repeat. I love this song. I think it's great. I love that lyric, that once upon, what was it? Once upon not yet. I think it's really cool.
Long ago someday.
I think it's kind of neat. I have no issue with this as a song at all. Whether or not the album in its entirety bites critically is another, it's a different argument. But I love this song. I personally absolutely love this song. I think it's great. I'm glad Kiss recorded it.
Me too.
So is everybody else, because they're all like, thank God we didn't have to try and record that story.
They took a bullet for the rest of the music industry.
Yeah. The
It's
whole
funny
music industry is doing that Neo Matrix thing with that bullet going by them.
It's funny for this track. We actually had a guest review this song, and it's Lars Ulrich's dad. And
a child in a sundress looking at a rainy sky. There's a place in
I would say delete that. You know. For me, that doesn't cut it. You know, I'm pretty sure that I really don't think so.
This is a setup.
You think?
All right, so
but we haven't heard from Gene Simmons yet. Nicholas,
what did he say?
The thing that was missing was the honesty of it. It was a misdirected album.
Okay, well, we'll take the man who was in the recording sessions at his word. I'll go ahead and I'll lead the charge and say skip.
Play.
Skip.
All right, only you.
Is there anybody still going to be watching this at this point?
Oh yeah. Only you.
Joe, surely you like this.
Again, if I never heard it again, I would be okay with it. God, but in a pile of garbage, if you're like, is there a scrap piece of paper that I can do something with? This might start to be something, I guess. But no, skip all day long. Never, ever listen to it again.
Oh, my God. I don't even understand.
Awful.
See, I actually like this one. I don't mind Only You. The only bit, it becomes pretentious when the chorus, so I don't mind that whole only you have the answer. That's quite that dramatic start to it. I quite like the melody of that, the verse, but it's those deep kind of backing choir of, they needed to suddenly add extra things on top of it. So I'm not as big of a fan where it hits the chorus. But if you were saying you have to like some songs from this album,
no, you don't have to like.
You don't have to.
No. Okay, well then maybe not. But I actually don't. I Only You, I don't mind. Yeah, it's okay. It's not terrible.
I really like it. I think it's another piece of rock opera.
Yeah, I of course play Only You.
Yeah, every single time. If you like Rush, if you like Pink Floyd, if you can listen to their work, as in the conceptual side of it, this works. I really like it, and plus they got Gene to do it, so it's not a struggling vocal.
Sonically, I love when the drums come in. Like, he starts without the drums, and those drums sort of kick in like about midway through the first verse. It's sonically that's a good point in the record, and you can kind of hear, because one of the standouts on the wall is the real crispness of the Pink Floyd drums, and the drums actually sound really nice on this track. That's what I do like about this one.
Okay.
From memory, yeah.
Right.
So it's play for me.
Wow.
Skip, hard skip.
All right, Under the Rose.
Oh, did you guys both say play? Yes, you guys said
play.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah,
We said play earlier. Yeah. Under the Rose. Nicholas doesn't remember it.
You can see if everyone zooms in on me, I was like, I'll try to remember.
So, to me, this is very much like It's Only You Part 2. It's these two. They go into one another. It works together. This is part of my rock opera kind of thing. I have no problem with it. I quite like it. Would always play it.
Was I getting confused before when I said the male choir? It's the male choir's in this one, isn't it? Where it says Under the Rose. Which is the part? I'm trying to think which is the chorus, because they both connect to each other, don't they?
They do connect to each other. Yep.
Which is the one with the deep singing in the chorus? I can't remember now.
The loneliness will haunt you. Will you sacrifice stuff?
Oh, he's the lyrics.
That's Under the Rose. Will you live your life under the
That's
rose?
That's what I was thinking before. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah, when I was thinking.
But you sang the first part of the verse of Only You just fine. So you knew that song.
Yeah. No, I do know it. I just couldn't remember which one had the
Gotcha.
Had the choir in it.
Okay, so what do you think of this one now that you recall?
I don't mind this one, and I like the drums in it as well.
Yeah.
I quite like this one. This is a play for me.
Good. It's a play for me. It's a play for Dave. Joe?
Never.
Never?
No.
Wow.
No.
Like never?
No, never. It's got a couple of cool riff moments. You know, it's got like some big, powerful, you know, sections, but as a song, God, no.
Wow.
It's got a really good guitar solo.
Let's put it this way: I cannot remember the last time I listened
Played by
to it.
Paul.
Up and until having to sort of go back and listen to this stinker before this, and I probably will never listen to it again.
So did you listen to it beforehand?
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, I know these songs. I know, but it's been forever since I've listened to them, and it's just as terrible as the first time I listened to it.
So the first time you listened to it, you were just like,
"Oh,
what the fuck has happened?"
Yeah.
Like Ace Frehley pulled the tape out of the deck and threw it out the window, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Done with Kiss, right?
Can I go more granular and say play the verse and skip the chorus?
I'll play this line, skip that line.
Yes. I'm going to go line by line. No, yes. This is bordering on a skip as well. So I don't know, play or skip.
Oh my God. All right, so let's how about Dark Light?
Yeah. The Ace one, which was originally, we can play a tiny bit of Don't Run, which I found.
Just stand and fight. Use all your might. Use all your might. Don't run. Got to take the stand. Don't run. Good things are at hand. Don't run.
Yeah, so that was the original. Sounded like he was on Special K, but it's very, very slow. But, yeah.
All right, Dark Light.
This is where I start to slide onto Joe's side of the fence. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Ace. I don't think Ace is a very good lyrically. I don't think Ace is a great songwriter at all, and I think he's got a great solo. But it's not. He had a whole bunch of stuff on Unmasked, and they were kind of charming songs. They were accessible, and I listened to this, and this feels a little like a demo. I mean, I've argued that it starts out, and most of side one is a rock opera, and this is where it starts to become detached for me, where I go, I don't see how this fits with that. And
what about storyline wise, though? I mean, if you're loosely following this storyline, this kid,
but you can't. I mean, that's, and I hate to make Joe's point for him, but they've got Odyssey from nowhere. There isn't a storyline. There isn't a story that you can follow logically. I can loosely get something is going, but I never saw plot points in this record.
So it's the boy. It's only you. He's under, this under the rose. This kind of, it's been,
wearing a sundress, looking for a rainy
wearing
sky.
a sundress.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I think, like I said, agreeing with Joe here, they've got music in from outside, which automatically waters down the idea of a linear story. So I think these have the songs have that feeling of rock opera. I love the fact that they have the strings, where they bring in strings, and I'm all happy about them bringing in the choir. And then Dark Light, it's got a great solo, but as a track, I'm really meh.
Okay, so you're a skip?
I'm a skip.
Okay. Joe?
Skip.
Nicholas?
No interest.
Play. This is my favorite one on the record.
Yeah, play.
I love Ace's vocals. I like that little spoken part. I mean, the lyrics aren't the best, but blame Lou Reed for that one. But I like it. It's good. It's all of a sudden you go, wow, this is a little piece of the rock album we should have got.
Right.
So it's a play for me.
Okay. All right. A world without heroes. God, can it talk? A world without heroes. Joe.
So if the guys playing at the Coventry were shown this video and said, "This is what you guys are going to be in 7 to 8 years," they would have called you a liar and said it's not possible. We would never, ever, we could never imagine the blood spewing, fire breathing demon.
So the same guy that recorded. So same guy that recorded Great Expectations.
Poor Gene.
And his solo album.
And his solo album that's full of ballads.
Wouldn't be expected to write A World Without Heroes.
He would never look at this and say that this is coming. There's no way. There's no way that logically that band would look and go, this is what we're going to be. There's no way.
Gene Simmons has a whole other side to him that we know. Yeah. That and he was begging to get that out on his solo album, and we see glimpses of it with Great Expectations. You see glimpses of it with Going Blind. You see glimpses of it.
He should have gotten it all out of his system on his solo.
Being that as it may be,
yeah.
I still don't think that you could go to Gene Simmons in 1975 and say you're going to record something like this, and he'd say you're fucking crazy, because I don't think it is fucking crazy.
I'm talking more about the visual that they're now presenting. This ridiculous. The song maybe because it has a little, it has a little bit of those some of the trappings that of course Gene has shown before, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I skip this all day long.
Okay, skip. Nicholas.
I quite like this song,
Good.
But should it have been recorded and should it be on the album? I don't know. I like it as a separate piece, so I will play it because I suppose it's a different flavor, I guess, for Kiss.
Well, I mean, just imagine.
It's for what it is. I don't think it's terrible, but I think it was a terrible, terrible move for Kiss to do. But
that's not what we're debating.
No,
we know that the album was a giant misstep for the band.
Mm. What do you think of the Cher version? Because I found that as well. Have you heard that?
When you don't know what you're after, or if something's after you, and you don't know why, you don't know.
One more. Channeling a bit of Ian Asprey there, but yeah.
Just skipper play Cher's version. All right, Dave.
I'm not getting paid to evaluate Cher's music.
That's right.
No.
Dave?
I've played, I think Gene writes good ballads. I think his solo album has some really good ballads.
I do too.
On there. This is not one of his better ballads. It's not. I don't think it's a bad song. I don't think it's a good song, and you've just proven it by playing Cher. Because that is fucking awful.
Yeah, but was this actually even a fully Gene song?
No,
I've heard it was a Paul kind of.
It was a Paul song.
What was it called? I remember.
I think it was called
something about love.
Every little bit of your heart. I think.
Every little bit of your heart. Yeah, I
think it's what it's called.
So there's some of the melodies in Paul's thing.
That's right. So the melodies, Paul is scatting on some of the demos, and you can hear, the melody there, and then of course it got reworked with Ezra and Lou Reed.
Certainly less scat on the album. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the scat man.
Sorry, I had that one as well.
How did you happen to have that ready?
I know. I think it's from something old. I don't know why. But I have the Scatman for. But I had the Scatman ready. I'm glad you said it and triggered that. It's all set up. It's like Paul Peter's drums on the farewell tour. It's all a series of triggers. If you say a word that triggers. Yeah.
You just have to touch it really lightly, I presume.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm gonna play on World Without Heroes. The Oath. The Oath.
Yeah, I play. I think this is a good rock song. To me, this is Kiss's version of heavy metal as we knew it in 1981. So right. This, if they'd managed to make an album full of this, I think it would have been huge in Europe. But I don't know that it would have work for them in America. Like Creatures of the Night didn't work for them in America. I think had they focused on Europe, maybe they would, because they were very different markets at the time. So I really like it. It's a play every time. I fucking hate Paul's falsetto.
I love it.
But I like the track.
It's a play for me. It's my favorite track on the record. It's also my first memory of the record too, because that's the first song in the original running order. Joe?
I think it's a good song. I hate most of the vocal delivery in falsetto. But it kind of shows like a little bit of a heartbeat for Paul somewhere in this clouded mess.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, there's Paul. Where did he go? Oh, where did he go? Oh, there he is. Oh, wait, nope, gone again. Oh, there he is. Oh, but back with falsetto. No, thank you. Okay, there he is with the powerful vocals. So I'll skip. If I never listen to it again, I wouldn't.
Unbelievable! Wow.
Yeah, it's weird when people talk about the Elder and they go, "Oh, but what about the Oath?" And I kind of go, I'm like sitting there going, I wish I had the clip which would be triggered from Mugatu from what is it, from Zoolander, saying, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, because I sit there and go, I don't understand. Everyone goes, play the Oath. It's like, and you go, yeah, it's the heaviest song on the record, but that's not saying much. I find this is one of my also equal worst songs on the album, because they're trying to do rock, but they've done it pretty badly. And again, you've taken one of the world's, at the time, one of the best rock singers, and you've ruined it. Like that chorus, your glory, I swear I ride for thee, as laughable as those lyrics are, and doing a falsetto voice, if he sang it like Paul Stanley, I would have loved it.
Because put your hand in my pocket, grab onto my rocket is fucking lyrical genius, right?
No, but I was just laughing at the
Come
lyrics
on.
I just read there.
Jason, that makes sense. Everybody fucking understands what we're talking about there.
Your glory, I swear, I ride for thee.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that to this record. You can't get it. You can't go.
And the streak take it. No, sorry, wrong one. Wrong album. It's the Shakespeare kiss of that. Yeah, pounding my fists. Oh, I think yes. I'm going to comment on that one.
Skip or play, Nicholas.
It is. I don't understand the love for this. This is a hard skip and one of the worst songs on the album, because they tried to give us what we wanted, and they made it worse. I don't know. I know.
It's just how broken they were.
Yeah, I wonder if Paul.
Lunacy.
Oh.
And we couldn't make a rock album. We had no teeth. We were gumming at that point.
Well, come on. This would be, if you're Paul, you've got a body of work. So you're a creative person. You've got a body of work. Like when he's talking about this retrospectively,
yep.
And there's one record where somebody's convinced you to sing out of your register and out of your comfort zone, and it's an album that's failed. He's never going to want to hear people talk about this. He's never going to sing the praises of it. He's never going to go, well, I really liked this and this, because Ace, there are moments where Ace goes, I think that's kind of cool and that's cool. This is a little bit fucking embarrassing for Paul, because it's not Paul being Paul. Paul's being led by his ego, which he's shown that you can do that with him.
Yeah, but they liked it just fine in 81 interviews.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, you are. Yeah. Sorry.
It just shows you how delusional and deluded the band were at that point. If when they handed this thing over and they're sitting across the desk from the executives, and the executives are like, what are we supposed to even do with this?
No band records a record and immediately says, this is terrible. What the fuck were we thinking?
No, you're right, because he should be.
Yeah, it's all retrospective.
He should have heard this and gone, you know what? These vocals are fucked. I want to go back and redo the vocals.
I take that back. There are bands that do that record records and go, this is terrible, but they don't release them. You have these unreleased records that, they say, Like the fucking, the only first one I can think of in my head is the first Sheryl Crow record. She recorded a whole record, went back and listened to it, and said, "That's not what I wanted to do." Shelved it. Went back and rewrote and re-recorded a whole entire record. So
that's Sheryl Crow at the door now.
That's right.
Nicholas is going to let her in.
But there's a saying that goes, "Hindsight is 20/20," right?
Sure.
So looking back, you should be self-aware enough to go, "Wow, that was terrible." And they are. They have they're not fighting for this record now. They know it was their dark period. They know it was a horrible misstep. So that doesn't invalidate what we think about it now, or even bolster or take away from what they thought about it in 1981 when they handed it over. It just means that they can look back on it like us now and go, "Wow, that was some dreck. That is some truly heinous, awful stuff, and we wish we would have never made it."
Fair enough. All right, let's go into Mr. Blackwell. Hopefully he'll get back. Mr. Blackwell. Joe?
Okay.
Oh, Dave.
I skip this song every time. I think it's boring.
Really?
And I think it had been mentioned by somebody else. I'd heard that because of the way that it is written, this would almost work better as a duet. If you're experimenting, they maybe could have had Ace singing the "You're Not Well" parts, and Gene singing because he was singing in person as Mr. Blackwell. Somebody else could have sang the other parts. Even though I don't think that would have. I think it's a boring song. It does nothing for me at all.
So it's a skip.
Skip.
I think it's very. I think it's very demon. It's very demonic. It's very, God of Thunder-esque, and I love it. I think it's a very evil sounding. I definitely play it. Joe. Nicholas, Mr. Blackwell.
It's got the attitude of God of Thunder, but it lacks this thing in songs called a melody. It's just there's nothing to it. It's just, I don't know. It's I would say delete that. No, it's bad, but I like the attitude behind it. I like the whole demon and the kind of you've got a little bit of the demon back, but just it's not a good song. So it's a terrible song with the right attitude. But unlike God of Thunder, which is catchy, this has got nothing to it. So this is a definite skip, and a real skip to the point of every single time I skip it.
Oh wow!
Not just listen to sometime and not. I just go straight away because I know I don't like this song.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right, Escape from the Island. You can't say a goddamn word about lyrics.
I don't want Joe to say anything. I just want to off his expression. Yes, skip or play.
Really?
I'm saying that. I reckon that's a play.
Yeah. No.
What
never.
can you say about this?
Exactly. I'm speechless. Yeah, I just would never. Why would I ever listen to this again?
I actually agree with Joe on this. I think it's pointless jamming. That I get why you do this in the studio, but it's not going anywhere. Putting a siren behind it doesn't suddenly make it into a track. I think it's just jamming, and we go, hey, we've got to put Eric Carr on something.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna jam, why not just put what they ended up doing with Car Jam on? I would have loved that. At least that riff from Breakout is a cool riff, But this one is.
So the riff from Breakout is cool, but the riff from Escape from the Island is not cool, even though the same guy wrote it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Just
correct.
You
said it better than I wrote.
Yeah, the same guy that wrote it.
I just don't understand.
It's not as good.
I just don't get it. It's a play for me.
No,
skip from all of you.
And that weird siren as well. That's not good. Yeah.
Okay.
And the bongo drums too. We forgot about the bongo drums in the conga break, the Gloria Estefan conga breakout in the soft line. That's pretty bad. Oh.
All right. So
I'm with Joe on this.
Best song on the record by a light year.
I'm not with Joe on this.
It actually sounds like a Kiss song. It actually is like that fist pumping rock anthem that I don't know. If I ever had to listen to one song off of this record, this would be the one. And it's bad.
It's funny. That's the song I skip every time.
Of course,
I skip this every time.
Right, of course, because every quote-unquote real Kiss fan goes, oh, the rest of this is so important and so thoughtful and so conceptual and so fantastic. But the song that most sounds like Kiss on the whole entire record, everybody goes, oh, fuck that song.
No, it's
I'm
goofy.
not listening to that one.
It's goofy.
It's cheesy. It's
cheesy.
Just
it's too cheese.
Cheese.
Yep.
Of course, that's what Kiss has been from the very beginning, you guys. You just said it yourself. Hand in my pocket. I mean, come on.
That's not
what
cheesy. That's tongue in cheek. That's tongue in cheek. That's not cheesy.
This is an attempt at Shout It Out Loud or another anthem. Just
that I Believe in Me kind of anthem. Of course.
Yes, ever since
they've been writing it from the beginning.
Exactly. Well, they've been writing it since
this
the third album.
Yeah.
But
sure.
To me, it doesn't like this album is full of weirdness and rock opera and all the rest. And to do this at the end of it, to go, let's put this pompous version of Our Usual Cheese on there. This felt out of sync with the tracks that I do like on the album. So my playlist of the album is only 50% of the record, but this does not fall into the 50% that I play. Time to skip.
This is the only one that if I had to skip, I skip. So
this song is fucking awful again, and this is like the word. This is again another word. I mean, we've got rid of the concept, and we're not going back to our usual sort of sex stuff. Then now we're going into this is the first real emergence of Tony Robbins' Kiss, self-help guru. I believe in me. You can do anything that you put your mind to, which I think I talked about with this Dave. It's called what is it called? Survivor bias.
Yes,
and it's a very famous thing. And Paul's the biggest sufferer of survivor bias. And survivor bias is that thing where you say, if you just, even though everyone tells you to go get that law degree, you should give up that law degree and you should go and join a rock and roll band, and you'll get everything you wanted: girls, fame, money, because I did. Forgetting that 99.9% of everyone else fails at that and has to get real jobs in the end. And the one person who goes, well, just do what I did. So he has that. They've all got that. Just believe in yourself and you'll make it. When really the truth is, you just believe in yourself, your band won't make it. But they do have that arrogance about them, thinking they've got the survivor bias. Like where I was on my plane crashed and. Yeah, everyone else burnt when the plane hit the ground, but I somehow was rescued by a boat. So all you have to do is crash in a plane and live on an island, and you'll be saved, and your life will be great. So it's that whole it's one of the worst things I hate about Sonic Boom and Monster era is because they have trouble singing about sex anymore because that's creepy for 60-year-old guys. So what they've replaced it with is believe in yourself. You would do a stand. We're standing tall, and if you just the lyrics in this just make me go insane. I cannot stand Tony Robbins' Kiss. It's the worst Kiss of any Kiss. Musically, it's okay. Alan Schwartzberg on the drums. For whatever reason, Eric Carr couldn't handle this drum beat. Like what the?
How did that make any sense at all?
He can't do the shuffle beat. It's like or maybe he couldn't. I don't know. But
play it live just fine on Fridays. So.
Yeah, skip.
Jason?
I said skip. If I was going to skip one on the record, it's the one I skip.
Dave?
I'm definitely I'm hard skipping this every time.
Me too.
Joe says play.
No, I skip it.
You said play.
I said if I had to play any song off of this record, if I was forced to play any song off of this record, no, skip. If I never heard it again, I would never miss it.
So you skip the entire record. Nicholas skips all but 3.
Yeah. But what's the little end bit? That's not another song, is it? They haven't given it a fanfare title. That he had a look of a champion, a true champion. That's just the
dialogue.
end of I, is it?
Dialogue.
Yeah.
I think on a couple of versions it's labeled dialogue. Maybe
it is. Yeah.
In Singapore or something like that.
Yep.
I hope if we get a box set, we get all the recordings of all that. And just,
you're not getting an Elder box set.
I'm just saying. I would love
you
to.
can be sure I'm never getting an Elder box set.
Yeah.
Oh man, I would love to have.
I must say, because I am a Pink Floyd fan, and I got the Wall Immersion Edition, and it's like you get the entire thing as Roger's guitar demos, then you get his demos with a band, then you get the band demos, and it's like the double album like 10 times, which is like hell on earth. I love the Pink Floyd, but I would listen to part of it once and it's just too much. But imagine you've got a whole double album of just the talking points parts that they've recorded.
It's a little bit like the Metallica Black album, the tribute Metallica Black album, where there's 15 versions of Nothing Else Matters, and we were playing it in order at the record store one day, and I was like, for the love of God, somebody turn this off.
Yeah,
like there are some masterpiece covers in there, but my God,
everything else matters.
Oh yeah, nothing else is going to matter if we don't turn this off.
Okay, I'm going to be worst daddy in the world if I don't leave in about 1 minute. So let's wrap this up. So I don't
all right. Well, that was it.
Standing outside the school.
Skip or play the Elder. To please tell us wherever you're watching this down below. What tracks you skip or play, and that's it, guys. Dave,
Paul Stanley's going to take us out. Paul Stanley's going to take us out.
Well, that's how delusional we were. We could just as easily talk about launching a rocket to Mars. I mean, you can talk about it, but actually there's so much that goes into it. And quite honestly, if you were going to send a rocket to Mars, you need a rocket and fuel. And as far as the Elder, I don't think we had either.
All right. Fair enough.